There's a moment that happens in silence, the split second after you see someone trip, choke, stutter, or fumble, when your brain releases something between amusement and relief. You laugh, but not out loud. It's not joy, it's release. We tell ourselves it's empathy, that we just felt awkward for them. But that's not quite true. If you've ever felt a pulse of satisfaction watching someone powerful mess up, or a viral clip of a perfect influencer crash into public disgrace, what you're feeling isn't empathy. It's Schadenfreude, pleasure at another person's misfortune. And before you flinch or deny it, remember, Schadenfreude isn't evil. It's ancient, that it's a mirror that shows how much of your identity is built on comparison. You feel good when others fail, not because you're cruel, but because, for a brief second, you feel safe. You feel like life's scoreboard just rebalanced itself. Our brains have always been keeping score. Long before Instagram metrics or follower counts, humans survived by knowing who was above or below them in the tribe. Status wasn't vanity, it was security. High status meant food, mates, and protection. Low status meant risk, exclusion, and death. So when you watch someone stumble, literally or socially, your limbic system gets a tiny hit of safety. It whispers, "We're not the bottom. Someone else is." That whisper releases dopamine, the same chemical tied to reward and relief. It's the same feeling that makes you scroll gossip headlines, click "celebrity caught cheating," or laugh at that awkward viral fail. Our brains evolved to monitor social hierarchies like hawks. And every time someone higher up slips, our body interprets it as a survival win. You've probably said it before. Good, they had it coming. That's the moral layer of Schadenfreude, justice disguised as entertainment. When someone we dislike fails, we wrap our satisfaction in moral language. We say, they deserved it. That's karma. That's what happens when you think you're better than everyone. But deep down, we don't really care about moral order. We care about emotional symmetry. Failure reassures us that the world still makes sense, that the arrogant can fall, the perfect can crack, and the algorithm isn't lying about how real everyone's life is. We don't want everyone to lose. We just want proof that winning isn't exclusive. If you've ever been on the other side, misunderstood, mocked, canceled, or just silently judged, you know how that spotlight feels. Heavy, distorted, unforgiving. Public failure doesn't destroy you by itself. What destroys you is realizing how easily others enjoyed it. You start to wonder, were they waiting for this? Did they want to see me fail? And the painful truth is, maybe yes. But not because they hate you, because they needed your fall to confirm their balance. In the ecosystem of comparison, no one is allowed to be untouchable. The world worships you until you remind it that you're human. Then it calls that honesty weakness. So what do we do with this truth? Do we suppress it? Pretend we don't secretly enjoy the spectacle of downfall? Or do we face it, not as shame, but as signal? Because every time we feel that flicker of satisfaction when someone else fails, it's really our ego saying, "Please remind me that I'm enough." The irony of Schadenfreude is that it never fulfills that request. It soothes for a second, then leaves you emptier. Because comparison is a treadmill with no finish line. Let's be honest, most of us don't envy people for what they have. We envy them for what their lives say about us. When someone our age wins an award, launches a business, or lands a viral hit, it doesn't just highlight their success. It highlights our inertia. We don't think, "Wow, good for them." We think, "What does that say about me?" That sting, that invisible bruise in your chest, is envy dressed as inadequacy. And because envy is socially shameful, you're not supposed to admit you're jealous. We suppress it. But suppressed envy doesn't vanish. It mutates. It becomes judgment. It becomes mockery. It becomes that little smirk when the person you secretly compared yourself to suddenly trips. That's why Schadenfreude feels clean. It's envy's disguise. It lets us enjoy emotional revenge without moral guilt. In a world that worships meritocracy, we love to believe everyone earns their wins and losses. The successful are hardworking. The fallen are careless. It's a comforting story. It makes chaos feel fair. But success has always been unevenly distributed by timing, privilege, visibility, luck. Yet we cling to the myth of fairness because it protects our ego. If we admit success is partly luck, then someone else's win isn't an indictment of our effort. It's just probability. That truth is freeing, but the ego resists it. So instead, We protect ourselves by moralizing outcomes. They probably cheated. They sold out. They're not even that good. We reduce what we don't have to preserve the illusion of control. That's not hatred. That's self-defense. The platforms we live on don't just know that we enjoy watching others fail. They profit from it. The algorithm has learned our emotional code. We pause longer on controversy. We share outrage faster than admiration. We replay collapse clips more than success reels. And so the digital gods obey. They feed us downfall, scandal, exposure, because it glues us to the feed longer than happiness ever could. The algorithm isn't evil, it's obedient. It gives us what our emotions reward, and what our emotions reward is drama dressed as justice. In other words, we don't live in a culture of cruelty. We live in a culture of comfort through comparison. Oddly, we don't just love failure, we love redemption. A comeback story soothes our moral hangover. When someone falls and rises again, we feel a strange relief. We forgive them, but really, we're forgiving ourselves for enjoying their fall. It's why we binge watch celebrity documentaries that begin with scandal and end with, "I've learned my lesson." We want to believe that pain purifies, that collapse leads to wisdom, and that maybe our own setbacks can someday look cinematic too. Our culture of Schadenfreude depends on redemption to reset its guilt. We destroy idols, but not permanently. We resurrect them when we need new proof that pain is productive. When you witness failure from afar, a viral tweet, a messy breakup post, a public meltdown, it's easy to feel detached. You forget there's a real person under the narrative. We consume collapse like entertainment because distance numbs empathy. We scroll through someone's humiliation the same way we watch a movie. It's not real to us, so it doesn't register as cruelty. But deep down, this emotional numbness comes at a cost. It blunts our humanity. The more we dehumanize others online, the easier it becomes to treat our own pain as content too. And that's the quiet tragedy. We no longer know how to suffer privately. Eventually, everyone gets misunderstood, exposed, or embarrassed in public, even if public just means your small circle. And in that moment, you'll notice something brutal. The people who once clapped for your wins suddenly go silent. Some will watch quietly, some will rationalize your stumble, and a few will secretly enjoy it. But this isn't proof that humanity is cruel. It's proof that people are fragile. They're not celebrating your pain, they're escaping their own. The best thing you can do when you fall publicly is to understand the psychology of the audience. They're not villains, they're mirrors. And every mirror reflects its own insecurity first. There's a paradox hidden in all this darkness. The same instinct that makes us enjoy seeing others fall, comparison, ego, self-protection, also fuels our empathy, ambition, and community. If we didn't care about others, we wouldn't compare. If we didn't crave fairness, we wouldn't cheer for underdogs. If we didn't envy greatness, we'd never strive to grow. Schadenfreude isn't a glitch in humanity. It's part of the emotional circuitry that keeps us connected. The trick is to notice it, name it, and not let it own you. Because the moment you stop pretending you're above it, you start understanding why the world acts the way it does. In ancient Rome, crowds filled the Colosseum to watch bodies fall. Today, the arena fits in your palm. When someone gets canceled, exposed, or ratioed, it's the same ritual, different stage. We gather in digital circles, waiting for the first drop of blood, a screenshot, a clip, a quote out of context. We call it accountability, but often it's theater, morality performed for applause. Because collapse isn't just punishment. It's entertainment wrapped in ethics. The spectacle reassures us, at least I'm not them. And that quiet comfort, that tiny dopamine surge of moral distance, keeps the wheel spinning. No one plans a pylon. It begins with one viral post, a few comments, and then suddenly, thousands of voices shouting in moral harmony. Each person feels righteous, but the collective energy feels monstrous. The irony? No one thinks they are the mob. Everyone imagines they're the voice of reason. But outrage spreads like wildfire precisely because it feels pure. It rewards participation without reflection. And algorithms amplify this. Outrage generates engagement. Engagement generates profit. It's the perfect storm. Emotional reward meets economic incentive. The internet doesn't punish bad behavior, it monetizes it. There's a strange kind of fame reserved for the fallen. We follow downfall accounts, gossip channels, what really happened podcasts, not because we admire the people being dissected, but because their failure feels narratively satisfying. Failure gives us something success can't: permission to relax. When someone we envied collapses, we feel lighter, as if the world just recalibrated fairness in our favor. That's the hidden transaction behind Schadenfreude. Their loss feels like proof that maybe we're still okay. Cancel culture pretends to be about justice, but at its core, it's about control. We don't just want wrongdoers punished. We want to see them fall in a way that reassures our worldview. We want neat morality tales, good versus evil, downfall and redemption, because complexity is uncomfortable. But life isn't binary. People are inconsistent. Morality online, however, leaves no room for gray. The paradox? We cancel people to enforce accountability, but in doing so, we destroy the very space needed for growth. There's no learning in public shame, only silence. Every culture needs a scapegoat, someone to carry the collective sins of the tribe and be exiled, so the rest can feel pure again. Modern society hasn't evolved past this, it's just digitized it. When a public figure falls, they absorb the anger, boredom, envy, and moral exhaustion of millions. Their humiliation cleanses our timeline for a day, but the cleansing doesn't last. Tomorrow, the feed hungers again. The crowd needs a new fall to reset its sense of balance. We don't cancel people because we're cruel. We cancel them because we're restless. When we mock someone's downfall, what we're really mocking is the part of ourselves that could have made the same mistake. That's why judgment feels powerful. It pushes our own vulnerability away. But every time we participate in collective shaming, we teach our brains something dangerous. If I ever fail, they'll do it to me too. That's the echo of insecurity. The reason people stay silent online, hide their opinions, or perform perfection. We've built a digital culture where honesty feels like exposure. And exposure, in this economy, is death. If outrage fuels clicks, empathy kills them. Empathy is quiet. It doesn't trend. It doesn't monetize. But empathy is the only real rebellion left. To feel compassion in a world that profits from mockery is to break the algorithm. Imagine scrolling past a downfall post and thinking, they must be terrified. Or, I've made mistakes that didn't go viral. That simple thought rewires something. It returns your humanity from the digital machine. Because every downfall you witness is a mirror, not a movie. Unlearning Schadenfreude isn't about pretending you're above it. It's about catching the emotion mid-spark and naming it honestly. When you see someone fail and feel that flicker of satisfaction, pause. Ask, what does their failure protect me from feeling? Maybe it protects you from inadequacy. Maybe from guilt. Maybe from confronting the dreams you abandoned. When you name the trigger, you reclaim control from the primitive wiring that confuses envy with safety. That's how emotional maturity begins, not by denial, but by awareness. The internet doesn't forgive, it archives. Screenshots become permanent monuments of imperfection. A mistake no longer fades, it compounds with every share. But the real cruelty isn't permanence. It's the illusion of moral superiority it creates. People forget that if everyone's worst moment was broadcast, no one would be left standing. The digital guillotine keeps us compliant, not kind. It teaches us to perform virtue while fearing exposure, a culture where everyone is careful, but no one is real. Strangely, watching someone fall feels intimate. It's like seeing behind their mask, the raw, unscripted truth of human fragility. That's why we can't look away. There's beauty in it, not in the pain itself, but in the authenticity it reveals. Because the truth is, collapse strips away performance. It's real, and our brains, starved of sincerity in the digital age, mistake it for connection. So maybe part of why we love watching people fail is because it's the only time we believe them. What if failure wasn't something to hide, but something to own? What if the people we admire most aren't the flawless ones, but the ones who failed publicly and came back unashamed? Reclaiming failure begins by refusing to perform it. No apology tours, no victim theatrics, just honesty. Yeah, I messed up. I learned. I'm still here. That kind of ownership short-circuits the mob. There's nothing to punish when there's no pretense to destroy. The bravest act in the culture of collapse is transparency. If Schadenfreude is a mirror, then healing it means changing what it reflects. Start small, celebrate people quietly, resist the urge to gossip, repost something kind without irony. Forgive publicly, not performatively. When you do, you'll feel something rare, peace that doesn't depend on superiority. And once you taste that, mockery feels cheap. We love watching people fail not because we're evil, but because we're scared. We fear our own potential, our own exposure, our own humanness. So we point, laugh, moralize, and scroll. Anything to stay distracted from the mirror. But here's the truth the internet hides. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the proof that you tried. The next time you watch someone stumble, remember, you're looking at the cost of effort, the price of honesty, the evidence of participation in the human story. And if you can feel compassion in that moment, you've already stepped outside the culture of collapse.